One thing we know about the upcoming June Nintendo Direct is that it's going to reveal some exciting new games for this year. And given what we know about the current state of Nintendo, things are looking really good for a new 2D or top-down Zelda game on Nintendo Switch. There are some pretty big hints pointing to a 2D Zelda reveal being imminent, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you follow Nintendo at all, you've probably heard the big news that a Nintendo Direct presentation will be taking place at some point in June. As we know, this Direct will focus only on games for the current Nintendo Switch, and releasing during the second half of 2024. This is a key detail, and it makes total sense, considering we know next to nothing about Nintendo's game lineup for the late summer and fall. Looking back at recent history, it's typical for a June Direct to feature the reveal of Nintendo's big holiday titles for that year. The heavy hitter games that will release during the fall, so that they're on shelves before Black Friday and the holiday season. Last year, these were Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Super Mario RPG, both revealed at the June Nintendo Direct and released in October and November respectively. This means that we should expect to see games of a similar caliber revealed this June. But what could they be? Well, I think one of them is 2D Zelda, and let me tell you why. Last year's holiday titles were both games from the Mario series, a series we've seen quite a bit from lately, and the fact that we got these two Mario titles last year might actually be significant when we begin to think about holiday games we might see this year. Normally I'd say that we could lock it in that we'll get a Mario title revealed at the June Direct as one of the big holiday games, but interestingly, this year in particular, the current state of the Mario series is giving me some pause. First, we got those two big games last holiday in Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Super Mario RPG. You could even throw in WarioWare Move It if you wanted to count that as an extension of the Mario universe. And this is all fine and good, something Mario releases on Switch pretty much every year. But even since then, the Mario series games haven't stopped, as we've seen things like Princess Peach Showtime, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and soon we'll be enjoying Luigi's Mansion 2 HD as well. These are all Mario Universe games. And doesn't that seem like a lot in such a short time frame? I mean, I love the series and I'm by no means complaining, but I think because of the recent Mario overload, we might see something from one of the other big series this holiday. And when it comes to big holiday titles, I can really only see them coming from three series: Mario, as we just talked about, as well as Zelda and Pokemon. Anything with the Mario or Pokemon brand is just about guaranteed to be a million-plus seller. Even if it's just a simple spin-off title, the IP alone is usually enough to carry some significant sales. Exactly what Nintendo would want from a holiday game. And due to the quality and success of many recent games, the Zelda series has now been approaching that bar too. This leaves Pokemon and Zelda as the two most likely franchises to give us a 2024 holiday title, and I think things are leaning much more in Zelda's favor. During the Pokemon Presents earlier this year in February, it was stated that Pokemon Legends ZA is due out in 2025, meaning it will skip this holiday season entirely. If ZA is in fact our next Pokemon game, then this means we won't see a new Pokemon title revealed between now and the end of the year, which leaves only one franchise as the most likely to produce Nintendo's big holiday game of 2024, and that's The Legend of Zelda. And if we look at the current state of the Zelda series, this June Direct does seem like the right time, especially for a 2D top-down game. First of all, we're coming off the release of a huge new 3D Zelda game last year in Tears of the Kingdom. We're now almost a year removed from that game, and if we know one thing about the Zelda series recently, is that it's an annual or at least near annual franchise. This means a Zelda title is released just about every year on Nintendo Switch, and the year 2024 should be no different. What's unique about 2024 though, compared to say 2022 or 2023, is that the Zelda slate is now totally clear. there's no longer a big 3D Zelda game coming that a possible new 2D release is going to distract hype from. The past couple years might not have been a good time to release a new 2D Zelda, because at the end of the day, most Zelda fans were just eagerly awaiting for Tears of the Kingdom to arrive. For most, it's hard to get that excited for a top-down game when you're awaiting something with the epic size and scope of the sequel to Breath of the Wild. To put things into context, the Link's Awakening remake, the last 2D Zelda game we've gotten, was revealed at the February 2019 Nintendo Direct. This was several months before the sequel to Breath of the Wild, or what we now know as Tears of the Kingdom, was revealed that summer, meaning the last time we had a 2D Zelda revealed, we were right around this point in the Zelda hype cycle. Just like Tears of the Kingdom is now, Breath of the Wild was at that point done. It was a known quantity, all of the DLC was out by that point, and focus was moving on to what was coming next, which at that time was the new 2D game, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Right now, we have the luxury of knowing Tears of the Kingdom is complete and won't be getting DLC, so Zelda fans will soon be awaiting something new, starting now. So as I've said, the timing fits into the cadence we've already seen this generation. Even the latest news from President Furukawa detailing Nintendo's next-gen plans could support the idea that we'll be seeing a 2D Zelda game pretty soon. We know that in this June Direct, we'll only be seeing games set to come to the current Switch console, and this is another point in 2D Zelda's favor. A 2D top-down game makes sense for the current Switch, because a game in this style is not going to be a next-gen showcase. 2D Zelda is never going to be the game to show off the power of a new piece of hardware. And because of this, I don't think anyone would complain that the next 2D Zelda game is simply released on the current Switch and not saved for the successor. I understand saving your Metroid Primes or your 3D Marios for next gen, but a 2D Zelda? It might have great character design and a stunning art style, but it's never going to be that graphical showcase. Something else Zelda that many are predicting to see this year, a Tears of the Kingdom based Hyrule Warriors spin-off, to me makes much more sense to see later on, potentially coming to that next gen system. Something like a Warriors game with flashy moves and dozens of characters moving on screen at one time seems much better suited for the more powerful Switch successor. Plus, while in all likelihood it does, we don't necessarily know if Nintendo's next-gen system is going to retain the hybrid nature of the Switch, meaning it's able to swap between docked and handheld modes. This makes 2D Zelda, a historically handheld series, a perfect fit right now for our current console. So now that we've covered why we're probably going to see a 2D Zelda game at this June Direct, we have to now talk about what it might look like. And based on historical precedent, it could very well be the case that this new top-down Zelda game could simply be a remake of a classic one. Many of the older games are viable candidates for a remake or remaster, going as far back as the very first Legend of Zelda, and as recent as the DS titles, or even A Link Between Worlds on 3DS. If you ask me, while I'd like to see any and all of these remade, I think the sweet spot is still that mid-range, meaning one of the Game Boy era titles. The Zelda Oracle games, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons for the Game Boy Color, could make for a nice dual pack or even multi-game release this fall. If they really wanted to, they could even take a page from the Game Boy originals and reuse assets from the Link's Awakening remake, since these games are all very similar in terms of how they look and play. Even the original Oracle games on Game Boy had some assets directly ripped from Link's Awakening, and the remakes could certainly follow suit. And of course, with there being the two versions, the linked game capabilities between the two would be included in the remake as well. The other 2D Zelda remake that I think has high potential is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, originally released on Game Boy Advance. Since 2D Zelda remakes are, for the most part, visual upgrades, I think this one, being one of the more visually striking in the series, could be a great choice. They could take the beautifully distinct sprite work of the original and do something truly stunning with it. Maybe by transitioning to full cel-shaded 3D, or even something in that HD 2D style, with sprite-based characters but 3D elements within the game world. And by having more processing power by nature of being on Nintendo Switch, they could really make those bits where Link shrinks down in size really flourish with newly added effects and perspectives. And don't get me wrong, either of these remakes would be fantastic to see in June, but we also have to consider other possibilities. First of all, the team that worked on the Link's Awakening remake, including external development partner Grezzo, most likely moved on to a new project shortly after that game was completed. The only production credit Grezzo has since then is Miitopia for Nintendo Switch in 2021. So in any case, I'd be willing to bet that something from the 2D side of the Zelda series since at least around that time, whether Grezzo has been involved or not. The large time gap we're currently experiencing between 2D Zelda titles might suggest that the top-down game we're expecting could be a brand new original one. And to me, this is the best possible outcome. We haven't seen one of these since 2013 with A Link Between Worlds on Nintendo 3DS. That's over a decade ago now. And even that game was heavily inspired by a prior one, that of course being A Link to the Past. It's about time we see a new 2D Zelda, one that uses a fresh concept as a gameplay hook. For example, the wall merge mechanic in A Link Between Worlds. The possibilities for what this could be are so wide-reaching, but nonetheless, it would be exciting to finally see a reveal trailer, one that shows off whatever this unique hook might be. Personally, I've liked the idea of us getting a darker, grittier top-down game. One that features adult Link as opposed to the Wind Waker style Toon Link that the 2D games have seemingly used forever at this point. Even this simple shift in tone would do a lot to make a 2D entry feel new. And this isn't even to mention whatever new gameplay hooks are going to be introduced. Developing a fresh new 2D Zelda worthy of the great games that came before is not an easy feat, but the development team has had time to work, especially if Grezzo is involved. And if this does happen, it will be nice for us Zelda fans to finally play something entirely new on the 2D side of the series, rather than replaying an older game for yet another of the countless times we've done so far. And not for nothing, but you mean to tell me that the Nintendo Switch isn't going to get an original 2D Zelda game for its entire 8-year life? I don't think so. But what do you think? Does it make sense that we'll get a 2D Zelda revealed in the upcoming June Direct? And if so, which one do you think we'll see? Oracle remakes, Minish Cap, or something even older than that? Maybe you're like me and think we'll see our first new 2D Zelda in over 10 years. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then feel free to check out the rest of my channel. My goal is to share the joy of Nintendo games by reviewing and discussing them with all of you. So if you're looking for something to listen to in between Nintendo games and Nintendo Directs, then I think you'll find something here you'll enjoy. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.